This morning we're going to talk to Congressman Justin Amash. He is a Republican from Michigan, and he was in for a little bit of a surprise earlier when he discovered that he was booted off the House Budget Committee. Nice to have you with us, Congressman. We appreciate your time. Walk me through how you learned that you had been kicked off this, very much of a big deal committee.
Well, thanks for having me on, Soledad. And I learned through news reports, so I started to hear the word on Monday and didn't hear anything from leadership Monday, Tuesday, and finally I approached them on Wednesday about it myself.
So this is your own party that booted you off, and I know you went took to Facebook and you posted this. I'm going to read it for folks. You said, "I have still not received a single call, email, or text from Republican leadership confirming this story that you're booted off. In fact, I wouldn't yet even have learned about it if not for the news reports. I look forward to hearing from my party's leadership about why my principled conservative voting record offends them." Has anybody responded to your Facebook post where you're sort of like, hello, anybody want to call me, fill me in?
No, not directly. They've talked about this potential scorecard that was used, and Republican leadership insists that that wasn't the main reason for booting people off committees. But it's pretty clear they had a scorecard, and if you were in support of more government, you got a positive score, and if you were in support of less government, you got a negative score, which seems completely contrary to what you'd expect for Republicans.
Congressman, this is Will Kane. That's certainly one line we've heard, that you guys who lost your committee positions were simply too conservative or too Tea Party. But there are others who are saying it's because you guys kind of went out of your way to not only buck leadership, not only vote against leadership, but it seemed like you were trying to embarrass them at times. What do you say to that?
No, that's totally ridiculous. And I would emphasize that this is not a conservative versus liberal thing. There are people like me in Congress who are out there representing the vast majority of Americans who want us to balance our budget. And it's not a matter of who's willing to work with Democrats or Republicans. For example, I have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution that has 14 Democratic co-sponsors. It's one of the most popular bipartisan budget proposals out there. So it's not about who will work with Democrats or who will work with Republicans or who's too conservative. It's about whether people are serious about getting things done to balance our budget. And there are a few of us who are very serious about it. Well, and we're actually calling for things like reductions in Pentagon spending.
But sir, that's what you say. You say you have this plan, but I think what the message leadership is sending to you is that your plan is out of step with mainstream Republican thought on this. I mean, don't you think they're entitled? The leadership is the leadership. Don't you think they're entitled to decide who sits on their committees?
No, absolutely not. I mean, at the end of the day, the American people sent us all there to work on this debt problem. And I'm certainly not out of touch with mainstream America. Mainstream America believes that we need to go there and work together, Republicans and Democrats, to balance this budget.
So you think the leadership is out of step? You think the leadership is out of step with mainstream America? I mean, either you are out of step with mainstream America or they are.
They are. Absolutely. Look at the kind of deals that are being talked about all the time. Even this $800 billion revenue proposal, it's a drop in the bucket. Every year we have $1 trillion or more deficit. So when we're talking about $800 billion in taxes over 10 years, that's only a few days of spending every year. We've got to if we're going to talk about taxes, and I'm willing to discuss taxes, and a lot of others are willing to discuss taxes, then let's talk seriously about taxes. If we're going to talk about spending cuts, then let's talk seriously about spending cuts.
Let me ask you a
question. But we're not going to take care of this $16 trillion debt unless we do that.
Let me ask you a question. There are people who've described what's happening in the GOP as a sort of civil war. You have the Tea Party, mainstream conservatives, and then moderates, those that remain. And then there have been sort of calls, certainly in redstate.com, to fire, to get rid of John Boehner. Do you think that's going to happen? Would you support that?
Well, I think there's a lot of unease in the conference. There's a lot of unrest at all levels. But I would again push back on this idea that it's some kind of Tea Party versus moderate versus mainstream theme. People like me are out there calling for reductions in Pentagon spending, calling for working with the Democrats. And actually, if you look at the 4 people who were removed from their committees, we've been the ones who have been willing to work with Democrats on a lot of these tough spending issues. So
would you support
it's
the
not a matter
re-election of the
of
Speaker? Or do you think he should be fired?
Well, we're going to see how the next few weeks go and whether he's willing to make amends and put out that scorecard. Let the American people see what he based the decision on. And I think that's critical. We need to see what the decision was based on. And I think the American people need to hear the truth, that both sides need to work together And we've had enough of these games, these partisan games in D.C., and we've had enough of people sucking up to corporate lobbyists. We need to do what's right for the American people.
That sounds like a no.
You know, and I'm trying to figure out if it is a no, and it is kind of a yes/no question. If the vote were taken right now, would you support him or not?
Well, right now I'm not very happy with the Speaker, so let's see what happens over the next several weeks. Let's put it that way.
All right, Congressman Justin Amash joining us this morning. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Zola.